All right, friends, can I give you all a minute or two to come on in? And then we will get started. So, as you all are coming in, the couple of ways that we can interact, well, the one way really is through the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. So at the bottom of your screen, you will see a button that says Q&A. You can type any questions, any comments to me, anything that's on your mind as we're going through. I am going to be reading that as we're going and answering any questions as we go along. And I am going to start today with sharing with you really what I discovered over about 15 years of dieting and just really driving myself crazy trying to lose weight. And I call them my three secrets. And they're my three secrets that I discovered to not only lose 60 pounds and keep it off, but to become naturally thin and to have it be easy and effortless. And for me to be able to easily keep the weight off after I had my third baby. So after I had my third baby, Jack, and I'll share a little bit about this story, these three secrets that I discovered allowed me to get back very easily and effortlessly only a couple months after having him. And that was not always the case for me. And I want to share with you today why that happens for us, especially when we're dieting, why some of us that are very driven and ambitious and type A and we're perfectionists and we do have a lot of willpower, why those of us that have that type of personality often struggle with this, sometimes even more than other people. And so I'm going to walk you through my three secrets that I use to lose 60 pounds so that you can glean some wisdom from my experience to apply it to your life so that you can reach your goal weight and have the freedom of being naturally thin for the rest of your life. And then after I go through those three secrets, if it's something that you want to take further with me, if it's something that you want more of my help with, I have a special offer for you today that you can work with me more and I can teach you more detailed and more in depth on how to apply what I teach you today to your life specifically. So I'm going to walk through and start through my three secrets that I use to lose 60 pounds and be naturally thin so that you too can have the freedom of being naturally thin for the rest of your life. All right, so let's dive in. Okay, I'm going to share with you how I blew my own mind by losing 20 pounds in 12 weeks while working 100 hours a week. And in these three secrets that I used to lose 60 pounds and become naturally thin, there was a period of time where I lost 20 pounds in 12 weeks. And I didn't exercise. I was working a ton. I was super stressed out. I wasn't sleeping a whole lot. And these three secrets that I share with you took me from being about 195 pounds, really struggling with my weight. These are pictures of me when I was obsessing and training for marathons, and I would be really quote unquote good during the week, but then it kind of would seem to like kind of all go out the window at the weekend. And I went from that struggling at 195 pounds, training for marathons, counting my calories, using all the tracking apps I could find, to now having three kids and being 136 pounds. And it's easy and it's effortless for me. And so I want to share with you all of the lessons I learned along the way to get there so that you can apply those lessons to your life. And first, I want to start by sharing just one of the like kind of craziest things I ever did to lose weight. So here's me as a little kid, right? We all do crazy things to lose weight. Maybe not all of us, maybe just me. We all do some crazy things to lose weight because we just want it. We want the result of not being overweight. We want to be at our dream body so badly. And so here's what I did on my wedding day. I'm just going to share with you a brief story because I know we all do some crazy things to lose weight. So my husband and I are not picture people. And so I had to find a picture of a picture and take a picture of it because I don't even know where our wedding pictures are. I was so used to hating the way that I looked that I, even on my wedding day, did not want to see my own pictures. And at the time on my wedding day, I was still struggling with my weight in that I would lose weight and put it back on. And I'm maybe about 20 pounds heavier at my wedding day than I am now. And I wasn't sure because I wasn't using the scale. And I was really wanted to just feel really like slim on my wedding day. And you can tell my husband and I were about the same height. And so I just like didn't want to feel big. I wanted to feel beautiful. I wanted to feel thin. I wanted to like get in my dress and feel really good. And at the time I was doing juice cleanses. And so on my wedding day, I remember waking up really early in the morning. I was really anxious. I was kind of feeling a little stressed and just about like so many things to like kind of get done in the day. And I had done a juice cleanse the day before, and I'd done a juice cleanse the morning of, and then we kind of got busy with the day. And as the day went on, and I had been eating vegan and plant-based and not eating meat and not eating gluten and like doing all these things to try to like feel the way I wanted to feel, but simultaneously being afraid of the scale, being afraid of my reflection, so many just kind of mental battles. And so on my wedding day, I wanted to feel this way. And so I did a juice cleanse, and then the day kind of got away from me. And after our ceremony, you can tell we had a traditional kind of ceremony in a church. We got on a party bus to go to the reception, and I had a couple glasses of champagne, and that champagne like boop went straight to my head because I had been doing a juice cleanse, for goodness sake. And so we get to the reception, and I remember thinking like, whoa, like I just was feeling like, oh my gosh, like I need some food to like ground me. And so I started eating meatballs and bread. And then later on I had a bunch of cake, and I started eating all of this food because I had done a juice cleanse, had some alcohol just so I could feel thin in my wedding dress. And then what I ended up having a panic attack in my wedding dress because I started to feel so uncomfortable, started to feel so anxious. And I had a corset that was tied up that someone had to undo for me. And so all of that, just because I wanted to lose weight, just because I felt like I couldn't be at the weight I wanted, that it had to be a struggle, that it had to be so hard. And so I'm going to share with you how I now am at the place where it's easy and it's effortless for me, and how I got there so that you can get there too. And I want to start off by giving you what I call yesterday's weight loss disclaimer, because I know if you're anything like me, I wanted the weight gone yesterday, not today, yesterday. And so you're not going to lose 20 pounds yesterday with what I'm going to teach you. You might lose 20 pounds in 90 days though. At first for me, I got to this point where I just wanted to stop gaining weight. I would have done anything to just be 160 pounds and not have to run, to be able to eat chocolate and drink wine, to be able to stop counting, to never run again, to lose 2 pounds a week consistently. I got to this point in my journey where I'm like, okay, I made this deal with God I'll tell you about in a minute. Well, I just don't want to put on any more weight because I kept seeing my scale go up and I kept seeing the size of my clothes go up. And now I'm 136 pounds, I'm 5'11", and I have 3 kids that are 5 and under, and I spend no mental energy worrying about my weight. And I mean, no mental energy worrying about my weight. And I want you more than anything to have that same freedom that I now have. And I'm going to share with you as we go through some of the women that have had a similar experience to me, that have tried and struggled and done traditional diets and exercise programs, and now are experiencing that same freedom that I have, so that you can not only hear from me, but you can hear from them as well. So Celia heard this about 6 months ago, and here is what she now has to say. She lost 20 pounds in 12 weeks. She went on to lose 40 pounds, and here is where she's at now.
Naturally Thin for Life has helped me to really find that version of myself who wants to be thin, that it's from like this, like we're happiness and joy and peace. We're talking about all these emotions, but it's really like this place of like confidence and a higher level of being that's not like the projection. I need to look like the person on the magazine and blah, blah, blah. And so it's been very different. So I would say it's like more customized to who I am and who I want to be in the world.
And that's what I want for all of you. So many of us, I know I started as a little girl wanting to lose weight because I just wanted people to think I looked good, and changing that. And now being in a body that just feels so good, where I feel so alive and so vibrant and so energized. And yeah, it's great that I look a certain way, maybe, or I'm at a certain way, but that's not the motivation at all. And that's what I want for all of you, is to feel as optimal as possible and in your bodies, and have that be the driving force, like Celia shared for her. And here's Sue. Sue heard this about 6 months ago, and she lost 30 pounds in 90 days. 30 pounds in 90 days, and then is down 7 pounds 1 month later.
32 pounds right now. And I never thought I'd break through the 20-pound like plateau. The 20-pound like never happened, or very rarely. And if it did, it came back tenfold. And then, and this didn't and doesn't.
And that's what I want for all of you. I coached her several times, and she kept in her mind, she just had this plateau because she had lost 20 pounds and put it back on, and lost 20 pounds and put it back on. And she was able to not only get past those first 20 pounds, but go on to lose 30 pounds and then lose another 7 in just 4 months. And she was able to do that because she started just feeling so good. The momentum of feeling good is what helped her to keep propelling forward. And so who is this for? Who is this class for? Who is being naturally thin for. It is for those of you who have tried counting calories, you've tried counting macros or points. For those of you that find yourself very successful in your life, in your career, and being an A+ student, a go-getter, you're maybe type A, you're a to-do list, or you're a perfectionist. You look out in your world, in your life, and you're like, I'm so accomplished. I can do so many things so well. So it doesn't make sense that I struggle in this one area of my life. It's for those of you that have a busy schedule. Those of you who want to be done with diets, tracking, and counting. You're done. You just want to be done with the excess weight and or obsessing about it. And you're just ready to feel energized. You're ready to feel free when you never, ever think or worry about your weight again. And so Einstein knew a little something about weight loss. And this was a pivotal moment for me in my weight loss journey. So Einstein has this quote where he says, no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. And sometimes people will relay the quote as no problem can be solved with the same level of thinking that created it. I went around diet after diet after diet trying to solve my kind of weight, what I thought was a problem, never ever actually understanding that the weight was simply a symptom of a different problem. So I went around trying to solve my weight with the same level of thinking. I never actually changed my thinking. And it wasn't until I discovered what I'm going to share with you today that I understood that it's actually very different to be naturally thin than it is to lose weight on a diet. And so I went from feeling so frustrated, feeling so helpless, feeling so exhausted, dieting after dieting after dieting, to now just being naturally thin and having it be easy and effortless. And it wasn't always this way for me. So my goal for you for today is to see that the only way for you to lose weight for the last time and never worry about it again, it's not with a diet, it's not with another tracking app, it's not with another meal plan. It's for you to learn and adopt the naturally thin mindset. It's a completely different way of thinking that is out of the realm of over dieting and over exercising and driving ourselves crazy, obsessing with that. And the only way for you to adopt the naturally thin mindset is to bridge the gap between your diet brain and your unique naturally thin brain. And we do this with what I call the naturally thin method. And that's what I'm going to teach you here today. So here's me again. I'm obsessing, I'm running, I'm dieting at 195 pounds. And here I am about 15 years later, and I'm done for good. I'm 136 pounds, 3 kids later. I don't think about it. I don't worry about it. This picture here on the left where I'm at 195 pounds, I was training for a marathon, and I got to the point where I was following the schedule and I was tracking all the food, and I was just like thinking about food and running all the time. And I hated running, by the way. And I remember running the run that was scheduled for me, and it was 18 miles. And I ran the 18 miles that day, and I just told myself, like, I'm done. I refuse to keep trying to lose weight this way. I refuse. I was training for a marathon and I still wasn't losing weight. I was like, something has to be wrong. And so from that moment on, I was like, there has to be another way. This is when I put that Einstein quote into practice. I'm like, there has to be another way that people think about losing weight, because there are people, I didn't know many of them, but I'm like, I know there's people that don't struggle in the way I do. And so I'm going to figure it out. And so for me, it wasn't always easy. Like I said, I was training for a marathon. I was meticulous about what I was eating. I can be really like driven and type A and perfectionistic. And I was about my eating. I was forcing myself to eat fish and broccoli, and I don't like either. I went through a period of time where I'm like, I'll just give up alcohol. I hated running. I was avoiding social situations, and I still wasn't at my goal weight. It was so frustrating to me. I was like, is this as good as it gets? I have to do all these things I hate, and it's still not only not easy and effortless, but I'm still not even at the weight I want. So I made this deal with God. I was like, okay, I was going to go to Australia for several months. And I was like, I had seen the scale kind of go up and up and up. And I was like, okay, God, I'm going to make you a deal. I'm going to go to Australia. And my only ask, I just have one ask, just one, it's to just not gain weight. I was like, I don't need to lose weight, but I just want to not gain it. Like, please, please, that's it. Seems fair? And all I wanted was to have a thin body and to not feel big. All I wanted when I was going to Australia is like, I just want the confidence when I see my own reflection. I remember looking in the mirror and being like, what I'm seeing in my reflection doesn't match how I feel inside. Like there was this disconnect between what my body looked like, but how I felt and how I knew I was meant to live my life. I just wanted to have a feeling of control, a feeling of relaxation. I wanted to end the obsessive dieting. I wanted to end the exercise, and I wanted to end the anxiety that I had around food and my weight. I already had enough anxiety. I didn't want any more around food and my weight and exercising. And so then I go off to Australia and I'm like, all right, God, we made a deal, right? I'm just not going to gain weight. I'm not asking you for anything extraordinary. I'm not asking you for me to lose weight, but like, can I just not gain it? And I gained 40 pounds. Cue my devastation. I went to Australia because I was like, all I want is to not gain weight. I was working out 2 hours a day in a gym, at least 4 to 5 days a week. And I still gained 40 pounds. Like I was devastated. I remember getting on the scale and it was in kilos at the time towards the end of that trip. And it was about 5 months long. I remember getting on the scale and being like, oh my gosh, this doesn't seem right. Like I'm like, I don't know exactly what the conversion is to kilos, but this doesn't seem right. And I went and I converted it. And I remember just feeling like, oh my gosh, just like that utter devastation, because I was like, if I can't not gain weight by working out and watching what I'm eating, like, how am I ever going to lose weight? I was devastated. And then I came back home and I was faced with what I call the busy season 20. So I was going into a career as a public accountant, as a CPA, and they're known for having really kind of strenuous busy season periods. And there was this phrase where people would say, oh, the busy season 20, you're going to put on 20 pounds in this about 3-month period of time. And I'm like, yo, I cannot put on 20 pounds. I just put on weight. I just put on 40 pounds. I cannot put on 20 more. So I was like, I knew I was going to be working a lot of hours. There was a period of time where I was charging 100 client hours in a week. I knew that that was a potential and I was freaking out. I was like, there has to be another way. I was like, now, okay, I knew I didn't want to gain weight before, but now I really cannot gain more weight. I was like, there has to be a way. There has to be a way that I can figure this out, even with long work hours, traveling, eating out. I wasn't making any of my own food. I was getting little sleep and I knew I wasn't going to be able to exercise. And so here's a picture of my son, but here's a reflection of me. I'm kind of like a super nerd sometimes. So I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out. And I only had a few weeks before I was starting this busy season in this career. And so I was like, I got to like hit the books. So I went and I read book after book after book and a book and book. And I'm like, there has to be a way that I can do this. And so I came up with a plan. I'm like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I know for sure I'm going to be working a lot of hours. I'm not going to be sleeping. I'm not going to be exercising. I'm going to be eating out. I know there's going to be constant snacks around because they have these like big bins of snacks because everyone is working in like one big boardroom together. And then they have just like snacks all the time. And I already had like social anxiety and I'm starting a job with new people that I haven't met. And then you travel like week to week and you're at different job sites. And so I was like, okay, and I have social anxiety. So I was like, here's my plan. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do these 3 things. I'm going to listen to my hunger. So I'm going to eat when I'm hungry. And my goal is to feel in my body as optimal as possible. I know if I'm going to be working till midnight, if I eat a big heavy meal or eat a bunch of snacks at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, like that's going to be impossible for me to have the energy to go till midnight. So I'm like, okay, so my goal is to feel as optimal as possible. And I need to let go of this perfect thing. I was trying to make everything perfect. Every time I started something new, it was like clean slate. I got to get rid of all the food I have. I have to try something brand new and I'm going to try to implement a million things at the same time. I was like, okay, I am not going to have time to do this. So I'm just going to listen to my hunger. My goal is to feel as optimal as possible, even if I'm physically tired, even if I'm stressed, I'm just going to try to feel as optimal as possible and let go of this idea of it needing to be perfect. And I was determined. This is my determined daughter. I was determined. I was like on a mission. I'm going to do this. And what happened is I lost 20 pounds in 12 weeks. It wasn't torture. And I didn't feel like I was missing out. I remember getting on the scale about 10 weeks into that 12-week period where I was working all of these hours. And I wasn't getting on the scale at the time after I had gotten on the scale and I saw the kilos and then converted it. And I remember getting on the scale and being like, okay, or not getting on the scale, putting on my pants and buttoning them. And some days based on how I was feeling, I'd wear like stretchy skirts and stretchy outfits. But that day I like remember buttoning them. I remember thinking like the button feels kind of loose. Like maybe I've lost a couple of pounds. And I got on the scale and I had lost 20 pounds. And I just reflected back on what had happened over the last like 10 to 12 weeks. And I thought, that's wild to me. I didn't really think about it. I was listening to my hunger. I wanted to feel as optimal as possible. And I had all of these circumstances that I would have never believed it would have been possible for me to lose weight. And I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything. I was like, wait, is this what it's like to be naturally thin? And I was like, it is. And 10 years later, here I am. I'm 8.5 months pregnant with our 3rd baby. And then just 4 months later, I'm back to my naturally thin weight at 136 pounds. I didn't deprive, I didn't restrict, I didn't count a dang thing. And that is what I want for all of you. So after 15 years of struggling, I finally figured it out. I figured out what I was like, this is the naturally thin thing. And I figured it out, and I want it for all of you as well. So I'm going to take what I learned over those 15 years, condense it for you so that you can have what took me 15 years and you can experience that same result in a fraction of the time. And that's what I'm going to teach you here today, right? Remember, because what Einstein knew something about weight loss. He knew that no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. We cannot keep the same thinking and have a different result. It's why so many of us have the experience of doing diet after diet, exercise program after exercise program, and not getting the progress that we want, not getting the long-lasting permanent solution. So what we're going to do here today is I'm going to give you some strategies, but I'm also really going to teach you how to have the naturally thin mindset so that you have a permanent, lasting solution so that you can have the freedom like I have of being naturally thin. And if you have been struggling, this is probably why. When we are dieting, we learn 3 primary fears. We learn to fear hunger. We think we need to be hungry all of the time. We need to force ourselves to be hungry, and that hunger is this terrible emergency. So we should probably eat 8 times a day, right? Or we need to force ourselves into really short fasting windows. We develop a crazy fear around hunger. And then we tell ourselves that food is either good or bad. We start to make certain food the villain and certain food the hero. And we start to make this relationship with food like this tumultuous relationship with food where some food is good and some food is bad. And then the third fear we learn when we're dieting is we start to fear ourselves. I want you to consider this. When we are dieting, there is one underpinning among all diets, and it is this, that you don't know how much and in what quantity and what food your body should eat to be at your optimal weight. We learn when we're dieting that someone else knows exactly what you should be eating. Now, of course, can we learn wisdom? Can we learn things from other people? Yes, right? But I want you to consider this. My body does not do well when I eat Brussels sprouts and chickpeas. It gives me a very instantaneous reaction, right? But on most diets, those would be considered healthy. And so when we do diet after diet after diet, we subconsciously teach ourselves that someone else knows better than me how much and what I should be eating. So we stop trusting ourselves. So when we're dieting, we learn these 3 primary fears. We learn to fear hunger, we learn to fear food, and we learn to fear ourselves. And it has us then going around saying, I can't get too hungry because if I do, I'm going to eat all the bad food and then I'm going to binge. How many of you have had some flavor of that sentence go through your mind? Those are the 3 fears summed up in one sentence. If I get too hungry, then I'm going to overeat, and then I'm going to feel really uncomfortable, and I'm going to eat in a way that's out of my control, right? That's all because we've learned that when we're dieting. So when we're doing it the hard way, AKA what we've been taught by dieting, what we end up doing is we find ourselves counting calories and points and macros. We start using extreme exercise programs and training. We think we need more self-control. We think we need more accountability. We think we need more discipline. So we go out and we get personal trainers and tracking apps and accountability buddies. And then we think, well, maybe if that's not working, maybe I just need more restriction. I mean, more deprivation. And then we're like, okay, well, maybe just more willpower. What about shorter eating windows? What about made for you meals? Maybe it's just normal to fluctuate. Maybe it's normal to maintain two sets of clothes. And then we're like, well, none of that crap is working. So maybe I'll get more extreme. And we start doing things like colonics and juicers and marathons. And then some of us might get to the point where we're like, I just give up. I just give up on this. And so we all go around when we're using diets and extreme exercise programs, spending a lot of money and so much time. I spent $1,000 on juicers, just juicers, trying to find a way to be at my optimal weight, right? And then all of the time that we spent and all of the missed opportunities of simply enjoying our life because we're in our heads thinking about what we should eat, what we shouldn't eat, how to burn off last night's overeating extravaganza that we went on. And so there is one common lie among all of it, that someone else knows exactly what and how much your body needs to reach your ideal weight. It is a complete lie. And I want you to see that it can end here. So I'm going to share with you a little bit of Sarah's journey. So Sarah was someone who was doing HIIT classes 2 times a day. Sometimes she was counting her points and calories. She was counting calories. She was counting her calories and she was just in her head all of the time. And I'll share a clip with you later where she would be like at a work dinner, like looking at the bread on the table and like, should I eat it? Can I eat it? What do I do? Right. And I want all of that insanity to end here for you too. So Sarah said, no more of this insanity. There must be another way. She had that moment where she decided, I have to change the level of consciousness. I have to change the thinking because what I've been doing so far is only getting me doing the same thing over and over, being more and more frustrated.
changing the way that you think and you relate and like coaching yourself, it really resonated with me because I'm like, okay, I'm not perfectly happy with my body right now. I know that I don't have the right relationship with food. I'm not listening to my body. But what I don't need is another program that's going to be like, eat this. And if this thing has, 15 grams of carbs, like, that's not what I need. So I knew I needed to change my brain.
And that's what I want for all of you. I want you to use this moment right now to decide that you too are going to change your brain, that you're going to end any diet insanity and you are going to change your brain so that you too can not only reach your optimal weight, but have the freedom of never worrying about your weight again. And so I said to Sarah when we were talking, I said, okay, so you've gone through now, you've had this experience of changing your brain, of thinking completely differently around food. I said, what would you tell your past self who was doing HIIT 2 times a day? And so Sarah had broken through a 3-year weight plateau. She had lost weight and she said it was easier and more effortless than she ever thought. And here's what she would say to her past self who was used to struggling.
Food might be stressful right now. You might be, worried about your body and how you look, and you might be hyper analyzing every time you go out to eat. It's going to get better and you're going to be more calm and you're going to feel good and be able to do more stuff. And you're going to have a more full, happy life where food and eating don't impact your capacity for happiness. It's going to be so much more chill and so much easier than you thought.
That's what I want for all of you too, because she decided there has to be another way. Like I decided as well, like Celia decided as well, like Sue decided as well, like there has to be another way. There has to be a way that is not counting, that is not tracking, that is not someone else telling me what to put in my body. There has to be another way. And there is. And I'm going to show you how to bridge that gap, how to bridge the gap between dieting, thinking you need to count, thinking you need to exercise more, thinking you need more willpower, and how to bridge it to the freedom of being naturally thin. Okay, so are you ready? Are you ready to dive in to the Naturally Thin method? I want to share with you my 3 secrets. And for those of you who are joining us, I said at the beginning, and I want to reiterate here, for any of you, I see some comments in the Q&A. I'm going to go through any questions you have as we go through today's class. And I want for any questions, comments, anything you want to share, just put it in the Q&A, and I'm going to go through all of those as we go through. Okay, so my 3 secrets, the 3 secrets that I use to lose 60 pounds and become naturally thin. The first secret is this, that your body has the roadmap to be naturally thin when you end the 3 dieting fears. Secret 2, that you can feel completely in control around food when you know how to create calm and relaxation in any situation. And secret 3 is that being naturally thin becomes a permanent habit when you fall in love with the ease of feeling so good and you never restrict again. So I'm going to walk you through each of these 3 secrets and share with you the lessons I learned to understand these 3 secrets so that you can have that wisdom for you as well. So secret 1, your body has the roadmap to being naturally thin when you end the 3 dieting fears. Every single one of our bodies, right? Our body wants to feel alive and vibrant and energized. Our body wants to feel as optimal as possible, but these 3 dieting fears get in the way of that. Right. So we need first to end the 3 dieting fears, the fear of hunger, the fear of food, and the fear of ourselves. This is how this picture on the right is how I used to feel every night. I would wake up in the morning and be like, today's the day. Today's the day I'm not going to overeat. Today's the day I'm not going to binge. Today's the day I'm not going to feel like I'm eating in a way that's out of my control. And then I would go throughout the day. And some days I would be able to kind of willpower my way through it for a couple of days. But then I would usually get to the evening and I'd be feeling restless and anxious. And I would feel like this just internal pull, this internal battle where I was like, I know I don't want to overeat because I'm going to feel so uncomfortable afterwards. I'm going to wish I hadn't. But I just felt like it was completely out of my control. It felt like someone else's hands were putting food into my mouth sometimes. And I just felt so chained to my weight. I felt so chained to whether or not I was going to have a good day or bad day based on whether or not I either got on the scale. Some days I went through years of my life where I didn't get on the scale, where I would make or break my day based on my weight, based on how I was feeling in my body. So I shared with you before, right? So I came back from Australia. I was working in busy season and I had lost not only the weight from Australia and lost those 20 pounds, and I still had about 20 pounds more to lose. So I'd put on about 40 pounds. I had lost about 20 pounds. I still had a little bit more weight to lose. And I had gone through the next couple of months, kind of doing those same things, listening to my hunger. How did I want to feel in my body and letting go of perfect? And I lost a little bit more, but I still wasn't quite at the point where I felt like this is still just taking up too much of my mental energy. And then I meet a woman called Wendy. And I'm going to tell you Wendy and my bagel story. So I'm still working in public accounting. We're working a lot of hours, and I was still kind of feeling pretty good. And I was still looking for naturally thin women. I don't know about you, but there's maybe three women in my whole life that I've ever really known or had, more than just an acquaintance relationship with, that are truly naturally thin. And so I had a friend named Wendy, and she had never struggled with her weight in her life. And so that's one of the reasons it's so hard sometimes for women that are naturally thin to help people lose weight, is because they don't understand the struggle, right? And so today we're really going to bridge the gap from the struggle to the freedom of being naturally thin. But when I had met Wendy, I remember this experience. So again, here we are, another busy season later, and we're working a lot of hours, and it's a Saturday, and they would often bring food in for us on a Saturday, and we're in the office, and we had gone down in the morning, and we were just chatting, and we went down and we got a bagel and brought it back up to our desks where we were working, and we were working on opposite ends of the building. And so I go and I pull out the middle of my bagel, because I'm like, maybe that's what I do. Maybe I just like pull out the middle. That seems like that would be like less calories. And so I pull out the middle of my bagel. I like eat part of my bagel. And then it's kind of like sitting there looking at me. And I remember like working and being like, oh, I just want the bagel. And like working, oh, I just want the bagel. Like, I'm just gonna eat the bagel, right? That lasted for probably about 20 minutes. And so then I go throughout the day, and I work, and we left around 2 or 3 in the afternoon that day. And so I go over to my friend Wendy, I go over to her desk, and she's literally sitting there just like this picture, with a bagel with cream cheese and coffee. And she hadn't drinking her coffee, and her bagel's just sitting there with one bite. And I'm like, what is happening? She'd just taken a couple bites of her bagel and she just left it there. I was like, you've been sitting here all day. And I remember even asking her, I'm like, have you been here all day? It doesn't look like you've been here. If this was me, there's no way that bagel would be here. And so I just remember being like, whoa, this is wild to me. I was like, this, I don't quite understand yet, right? I was able to lose some weight. I was able to do it without extreme dieting and exercise, but I'm like, this, where food just isn't something on your mind, like you just eat it and you move on and that's it. I was like, now this I have to figure out. And so I'm going to share with you what I learned from Wendy and the other naturally thin women I studied. That naturally thin, being naturally thin, it is a permanent mindset. They have a collection of thought processes that are habitual for them, that are easy for them, that have them only thinking about food when they're hungry, easily stopping when they're satisfied, and eating food that feels good in their body and simply moving on. It's just a way of being. And my friend Wendy, we would go out and we would have drinks, and like I would see her eat some pizza here and there. And I just remember being like, I don't understand, right? And so I want to share with you what I learned from Wendy and these other thin women, is that they understood that there was this permanent mindset. But like I said before, the problem was this, that they had never struggled. So even though they had this permanent mindset, they had this way of being, they had never been on the diet struggle bus. And so what I learned is that first, I wasn't seeing hunger as simply a cue for my body. I learned to listen to it, but I still had some fear around it. Here's a picture of my son, but this is like how I would feel every time I would feel just even a tinge of hunger. It would be like a grumble and a pang, and I would be like, like I was kind of still having some of that fear around hunger. And I learned, these naturally thin women, they don't have that. They think of hunger as just a calm communication tool. It's simply a cue from their body. They have no other thought about it other than it's a calm cue. And I realized, I'm not thinking that way. And the second lesson I learned is that food isn't good or bad, it's just food. So when Wendy and I would be out and she would be eating a couple bites of pizza, in my head, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that's so bad. I'm going to have to work out tomorrow. I shouldn't have that, but I want it. Like I'd be going back and forth having this mental battle. She never had any of that. I remember asking her, like, what do you think about that pizza? And she was like, yeah, I might have a couple bites. I'm like, anything else? And I was like, do you work out? She did not work out. And I was like, what is happening? And so what I understood is that she didn't think about food as good, being good or bad. She was just like, well, how do I want to feel? How do I want to feel in my body when I'm done eating? She's like, usually I just want to feel energized. Usually I just want to feel as good as possible. And so that might be a couple bites of pizza. It might not. Like it might mean 2 slices of pizza. It blew my mind that she was just like, I don't think about food as being good or bad. And I was like, that's another diet lie that I picked up, is that food is good or bad. Naturally thin women don't think about it that way. They just ask themselves, how do I want to feel? And the third lesson that I learned is that, when I rebuild this trust with myself, when I understand that I can actually listen to my body and I don't need to count anymore, I don't need to be sitting there eating my salad. Guys, I used to track my calories from a salad in a tracking app, right? And I'd be like looking there like, well, maybe the dark chocolate, because like, look at the calories compared to, the Reese's peanut butter cups, right? And I would track the calories of fruit, right? I understood finally when I studied these women that when I could actually trust myself myself around food, that meant I never needed to count anymore. And I didn't want to count anymore. And then when I understood those three things, then I really learned hunger's just a cue. Food's not good or bad, it's just food. And I could actually trust myself around food. Then I had a permanent end to any mindless eating and any binging. This was no longer me just being around food, wanting to eat all the things at the same time, being ravenous, finding myself not even aware of like mindlessly snacking. It all ended. And it took then less than a year in total for me to lose those 40 pounds from Australia. And so here's Mindy. Mindy was someone who came to me and she said, I don't have a lot of weight I want to lose, but she said, I just am in my head all of the time. And she used to call it macro Tetris. She's like, I'm used to playing macro Tetris, trying to fit all my macros in. And she just said, I just find myself obsessing about it. And now she's reached her naturally thin weight and she no longer obsesses and she no longer plays any of that macro Tetris.
One thing I absolutely love is like the whole hunger scale of how hungry you are and how satisfied you want to be and how you want to feel when you're done is probably a bigger thing for me than even the food choices, because I already had those so tuned in. But just being aware of our hunger and being like hungry and it not being a big deal. And then when I'm in that moment, though, it's not like I don't go into eat all the things mode.
And that is for any of you that have ever felt like, I get too hungry and then I eat out of control, right? When I understood these naturally thin women, I understood, first of all, they never forced themselves to get super hungry. They never forced themselves into made up fasting windows. They just saw hunger as a communication tool. And then when they were hungry, they didn't go around and eat all the things. Like Mindy and I, we used to eat all the things when we got really hungry. But they could trust themselves when they were hungry, food wasn't good or bad, and they weren't going to eat in a way that was out of control. And Sarah then went on, like I shared some of her story before, right? She was doing HIIT 2 hours a day and she just like didn't want someone else to tell her what to eat. And so she then went on to lose 1 pound a week consistently after 3 years of plateauing, when she simply ended these 3 dieting fears, when she ended the fear of hunger, the fear of food, and the fear of herself.
Thinking about when I was hungry and feeling hunger in my body, it would feel like an emergency, and it would feel like, oh my God, if I don't answer this right now, it's going to fall out and I can't think about anything else. And that would mean that I would like watch food videos or not be present during work or anything like that. But now I think about it like, okay, yeah, my body is sending me a signal of hunger. And when I'm at the level that I want, or, when I'm at the, if I'm in the middle of a meeting, let's say, and I'm getting that feeling of hunger, I see it now and I think, okay, I'm getting that feedback. Like she can be here with me. Like she can be in this meeting, but I'm not going to answer it right now because it's not that much of an emergency. It's just, it's there to give me feedback and to protect me, but it's not, this is not an emergency. The fear around hunger just feels so much more chill.
That's what I want for all of you too, to just have that chill, calm relationship with hunger, food, and your body. So who does the Naturally Thin method work for? It works for those of you that have been dieting and dieting and dieting. Those of you who love exercise, of those of you who hate it. Those of you who are busy. If you travel, for those of you who just want to be healthy. If you want to increase your longevity, whether or not you love or hate to cook. If you spent years struggling or you've only started struggling in the last couple of years. For those of you who used to be naturally thin. I've helped so many women who are like, I used to be naturally thin, but then I had kids and something changed. For those of you who want to look good and feel good, whether or not you have kids, because being naturally thin is how you are designed to eat and live. We're not designed to be trying to micromanage our food, trying to over-exercise and count every calorie. That's not how we're designed. We're designed to eat and live with the freedom of being naturally thin in a body that feels as alive and vibrant and energized as possible for each and every one of us. And I want to share with you a little bit about why being naturally thin is different than intuitive eating, right? Remember, when we're dieting, we subconsciously develop these 3 fears: a fear of hunger, a fear of food, and a fear of ourselves. And each one of us develops the fears on a slightly different array on the spectrum. But when we have any of those fears, when we've done any sort of dieting, when we've done any sort of like trying to micromanage our food, trying to micromanage our weight, and then we're like, whoo, I want to go to the freedom of, eating and listening to my body and doing whatever I want. It doesn't work. We cannot do it. And here's why. Because you must first end the 3 dieting fears. When you're dieting and you're restricting and you're depriving, and then you all of a sudden tell yourself, I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want. all that usually happens is your brain is like, whoo, finally, finally, you've opened the gates. Like, you can let me out, right? You can like unleash the animal that's been like in this cage you've been putting me in. You've put me in this diet cage, right? And then all that we do is we rebel against all those years of dieting. And this is what happened to me when I tried intuitive eating after dieting. I was like dieting. I developed that fear of hunger, fear of food, fear of myself, right? And then I was eating cookie dough 3 times a day. I'm like, well, I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want, as long as I'm hungry. So I'd wait till I would get hungry and I would have cookie dough. And then I would wait till I get hungry and I have cookie dough. And I wasn't feeling good in my body. And I did this for a little while. I'm like, I'm pretty sure my body doesn't want me to be eating cookie dough 3 times a day, right? But that is only the reaction to years and years and years of dieting. It's the reaction to having those fears around hunger, food, and ourselves. And so you need an actual roadmap. You need a bridge to get from dieting to being naturally thin, right? It's almost impossible to jump to the freedom of being naturally thin without ending and putting an end to those 3 diet fears. And so here's what Sarah has to say. She was talking about having some of these dieting fears, and she travels a lot for work. And so she was saying, right, she goes to these restaurants and like be looking at the bread basket like it's a bomb and just like, should I touch it? Do I not touch it? Right? Like thinking all of that. And she thought she was the only one. And then she said she shared this story and she realized that so many other women think of this. And so I want you to hear what she has to say.
One time I was at a work like dinner, I was in a hotel and I had my leftovers and I had my box and I like ate half of it. I'm like, okay, I'm full. And then literally 2 minutes later, I just pulled it open cold and was just like finishing it because I could. Or like staring at the bread basket like it's a bomb on the table. Like, okay, who's going to take a piece? Can anybody touch it? Like, can I have one? What's going on? And so like, I thought that I was the only one who just like couldn't focus at dinner because I was only looking at the bread basket. But now I realized that a lot of people do that. And now it's good to be like, okay, well, if the bread looks good and I know that like having a small piece will feel okay, then I can trust myself to be like, yeah, sure. If I don't, if I'm like, I don't really think that that'll feel good or I'm not in the mood, then I just be like, no, and not even really look at it or care, which is amazing.
Yeah. Right? Who doesn't want to be able to go to a restaurant, be able to see a bread basket and be like, maybe I'll eat a little bit, maybe I won't. It's just like not that big of a deal. That's exactly what my friend Wendy had experienced. And that's exactly now what I experience and what Sarah experiences as well. And being naturally thin is also, not only is it not intuitive eating, but it's not this all or nothing that so many of us get into. Those of us that lean towards like super ambitious and driven, and sometimes we're perfectionists. We're like, well, I'm either all in on like this picture. I'm only going to eat all of this food, or right, we just like rebel and then we go and we eat all the snacks and we eat all the chocolate and we eat all the candy. We're like, forget it, right? And it's not that. Being naturally thin is not that. It's a way of living. It's a way of eating in a way that feels good for your body, but also indulging in food, and sometimes that has zero nutritional value. And so it's a balance of that. It's being able to eat food without restricting, without depriving, in a way that allows you to feel as optimal as possible and never missing out. Being naturally thin is a way to actually live your life. So here's Celia again. Remember, Celia lost 20 pounds in 12 weeks through the naturally thin method and went on to lose 40 pounds. And here's what it's like for her now, just living her life.
You've coached me with some of the like the stuff around family and more of the holiday where there like in my mind there's like more expectations. So all of that has gotten easier and easier, that I can just show up and enjoy myself and know that I'll find something, food that serves me and I don't have to stress about it while I'm traveling.
Right. And especially with the holidays coming up, how many of you are like worried about going to parties, worried about going to social gatherings, worried about going to family events? And you're like, right, I don't know what food's going to be there. What's going to happen? Am I going to overeat? Am I going to like have to work it off the next day? Right. All that mental chatter. Right. But when you're naturally thin, it's just a way that you get to live your life. You can go to a party, you can show up, you can eat food in a way that serves your body, and you can leave feeling the way you want and not ever missing out. And here's what Mindy has to say when she said goodbye for good to a restrictive diet, and what it's like for her now with the freedom.
Dieting, I feel like, because you're so restricted, like you aren't allowed to have this. You have to stay within this category of things, or you feel like you're restricting, depriving, doing all the things. And that's where I think people think it's work or it's hard, because there's so many rules where just making the decision your own decision. So we get to decide, and we listen to our bodies, and we make all the choices and there's no right or wrong, and there's not the same choice isn't going to fit in everybody. So there's nobody telling each other what to do. Is we're our own person, we decide, is freeing. So freeing.
Right? How many of us have done a diet where someone's telling us what to eat, how much, how many calories, how many macros, what food you can eat. It's a this eat and a don't eat food, right? And how much you should exercise. And sometimes we do it for a little bit, but eventually we all rebel, right? Our brains do not like to be told what to do in a strict way for extended periods of time. We cannot do it. We all eventually rebel. And some of us have a little bit more of a rebellious tendency than others. I have a very rebellious tendency, right? And so it's like what Mindy was saying, we want to be able to decide what to eat and how to feed our body. Our body wants us to feel as optimal as possible. And so here's Tiffany. So she had said goodbye to her diet brain. She was able to see hunger as a calm cue that food isn't good or bad, and she was able to trust herself in any situation. And these were the same 3 lessons I learned when I was studying other naturally thin women and applying them to myself, that I could let go of those 3 dieting fears, that hunger is simply a communication tool for my body, food isn't good or bad, and that I could actually trust myself in any situation. And Tiffany has had 13 children. 13, and she's reached a new low of 148 pounds only 5 months after her 13th baby.
That's how I realized it's this food brain thing that's been, and this diet and exercise brain.
Right? So many of us have that. And when we realize that we can see it for what it is, then we can simply see hunger is a calm cue, food isn't good or bad, and we can actually be able to trust ourselves. And here's Jana. Jana is a nurse practitioner, and she works in the medical field, and she knows all of the science about nutrition. She helps people with diabetes. She knows all of the science behind nutrition, but she still was like, there's something missing for me. There's something missing. And she finally learned through the Naturally Thin method that she could lose weight and keep it off in the same way because she was using the Naturally Thin way. And so now she says she has a permanence and an ease to it. And here's what she has to say.
You keep the weight off the same way you lose it.
Yeah, totally.
I'm not going to do this yo-yo back and forth. I'm done with these 10 pounds. I'm done with these, whatever it is. And I'm going to be able to use these same methods and tools for the rest of my life to keep it off. That's the investment right there.
And I share these stories with you because I want you to see it's not just me. It's so many women are able to do this because it's the same exact roadmap, right? Each one of us have unique bodies that we need to listen to, right? But there's an actual roadmap to take you from dieting and over exercising and overthinking and over analyzing it to the freedom of being in a body, in a dream body that you love and never, ever worrying about your weight again. Right. So when you say goodbye to your diet brain, you get to say hello to your naturally thin life so that you get to actually just live your life feeling alive and vibrant and energized, because your body has the roadmap to being naturally thin when you end the 3 dieting fears. All right. So that's secret 1. Now, secret 2 is that you get to feel completely in control around food when you know how to create calm and relaxation in any situation. So I lost the weight. I lost those 40 pounds that I'd put on in Australia. And then I had a baby. Here's me in my Instagram picture, right? Everything's amazing and glorious. I'm like, yeah, I'm so happy, right? And I was so happy. And at the same time, I felt like this woman. I felt like I needed to be perfectly calm on the outside, and I was screaming on the inside for so many reasons. I already had a lot of anxiety. I was so stressed. I was so anxious. I was like, I have no time. I'm exhausted. I just wanted to scream. And people would tell me, oh, you're breastfeeding, so the weight is just going to fall right off. And I was like, yo, what is happening? It is not just falling right off. And I was feeling so frustrated. And so there I'm pregnant, had my son, and I'm like, I should be enjoying this so much more, but I'm just feeling so uncomfortable in my body, not just about my weight, but about so many other things. And then it was about 7 months later, and I'm like, I still am not losing the weight. I'm like, I gave myself the time and the space to breastfeed and do all the things. And I had gone back to work and I'm working full time. And I'm like, how is this not, how am I doing all of this? And weight is still not coming off. And I said to myself, I was like, okay, and another Einstein moment. I'm like, okay, all right, we figured it out before kids, but I was like, now I really I need to figure this out with a baby, with breastfeeding, with working full time, with being tired, with being stressed, with being anxious. And I was like, by the way, I don't have a lot of quote unquote spare time. And I don't have a lot of willpower to do something restrictive or strict, right? And I already decided I was never going to do that again. So I'm like, okay, there must be another way. And I was like, I don't want to wait. I had gone through this several months and I was like, okay, maybe I just wait till I'm done having kids. And I was like, but I put on this weight. I put about 50 pounds on when I was pregnant with him. And I was about 40 pounds at the 7-month mark. I was about 40 pounds heavier than I am now. And I'm like, okay, so then if I don't lose the weight and I get pregnant again and I put on 50 more pounds, I'm like, I saw the trajectory. I'm like, yo, I don't want to wait. Not only do I not want to wait because I'm afraid for my health and other pregnancies if I keep putting on more and more weight, but I was like, I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait until after I'm done having kids. So I was like, there has to be a way. And so here's the next lesson I learned, right? Remember the first 3 lessons in the first secret is that hunger is just a cue. That's lesson 1. Food is not good or bad. It's just food. And that when you rebuild trust with yourself, you don't need to count or ever eat mindlessly again. And then the 4th lesson I learned after I had Ben, my first son, is that I was like, okay, I'm not going to count. I'm not going to deprive. I'm not going to do anything strict. I just started asking myself, how do I want to feel getting into bed tonight? I'd be like, okay, well, I want to feel as energized as possible. I want to wake up in the morning feeling as light as possible so that I'd be able to wake up with my little baby, have even gotten up 5 times the night before. I was like, so I might be physically tired, but how optimal can I feel? How energized can I feel, right? And that level of energy was different day to day based on, what was going on with work, what was going on with my anxiety levels, what was going on with my son's sleep schedule. But I just started asking myself the question, how do I want to feel getting into bed tonight? And then the next lesson I learned is I was like, okay, I had new levels of anxiety. I had new levels of stress. I had new levels of restlessness. And I was like, okay, food doesn't seem to be solving my anxiety, stress, and restlessness. I had come into this habit of not overeating compulsively, not doing a lot of mindless eating, not binging in the evenings at night anymore like I had years before, but I still was just kind of like, I'd put my son to bed and I'm like, I just need to relax. And I would find myself just overeating a little bit, overeating some snacks. And I would just be like, I'm just so anxious, I'm so stressed, I'm so restless. And I'm like, okay, food isn't solving this. So I'm like, I have to really learn that lesson that food is not solving those emotions for me. And what I learned is that I had so much more power in what I call my normal emotional state. And so briefly, emotions simply connect our brain and our body. I used to tell myself, and you hear from Jana, who said something very similar to herself. I was like, I don't have time for that emotion stuff. I got some stuff to do. But I really understood on this journey that I was like, oh, emotions are simply what connects our brain and our body. They're just energy and motion, right? So think about how our body follows our brain everywhere it goes, right? When my brain is like, click the button, my body follows what my brain wants me to do, right? When I'm like, oh, I want to make some tea, I decide that in my mind, my body follows my mind to go make some tea. Emotions are simply how our body gets everything in order to be able to do what we want to do, right? And we can actually change our emotions on purpose. When I understood this, I was like, oh, wait, hold on. You're telling me I don't have to feel as anxious? You're telling me I don't have to feel as stressed? You're telling me I don't have to feel as restless? I can actually change the amount of those feelings that I'm feeling? And so then I was like, okay, so if my body follows where my mind goes, right, I could either be frantic or I could be focused. Even think about when you're feeling frantic, how your body moves differently. Like when I'm feeling frantic and I'm trying to do something, I'll be like over here and I'll be over there and I'll be over there and I'll be like, oh yeah, to-do list. I got to put that on my phone, right? My body is frantic, right? That's how our body and our brain communicate, is simply through energy and motion, is through our emotions. And when I'm focused, I am focused. I'm not squirreling over here, right? It's a very different energy in my body, right? Think about the difference when you're anxious or when you're calm, right? When I'm anxious, when my mind is anxious and my body is anxious, my body is doing very different things. I'll like be playing with my hair, right? When I'm calm, I'm just calm, right? And think about the difference between feeling restless and feeling relaxed. And I wanted to feel focused. I was like, I want to get my work done. I want to be a super efficient, effective machine at work. I was always a high performer. I was like, I'm not giving that up. I want to be super focused at work. I want to feel calm and I want to feel more relaxed. And I learned that I could actually change those emotional states for myself. I learned that instead of feeling restless and stressed and anxious, those being my normal emotional states, I was like, whoa, I could actually change my normal emotions. I could be feeling more calm, more joyful. I could be feeling more energized, both physically and mentally, so that I could actually enjoy my sweet little baby even more than I was. Don't get me wrong. Of course I was enjoying him, but I was still feeling so much angst in my body. I was still feeling so much of that normal not normal, but like habitual emotional state of feeling so much anxiety. And when I learned I could actually change my emotional state, not only did I not need the food to escape, but I just got to enjoy and be so much more present with my sweet little boy. And then I had the freedom. I had complete freedom because I felt in control. When you feel completely in control, that's the freedom. I could feel a sense of calm and relaxation in any situation. And I was able to access calm and relaxation on the spectrum. So I wasn't always like zen on the beach, like drinking a drink, like relaxed, but I was able to notice any anxiety and bring in and create a sensation of relaxation and calm in any situation. And now here I am again. This is about 4 months later and about 9 months after my third baby, and I'm back at my naturally thin weight easily and effortlessly. And I'm actually 10 pounds lighter than I ever got to after having Ben, my first son. And Jana, she said to me, she said, I didn't think I had time for that. I didn't think I had time to change my emotional state, right? But she said it changed everything for her.
Because I am very type A, very driven, very ambitious. I don't have time for emotions. You need to handle your own crap. I don't want to handle your emotions. Yep, totally. So I was like, absolutely not. But it's been the game changer, Laura. It's been the game changer, literally. I mean, I've got to tell you, consistently for the first time in 2-3 years, I've actually seen the scale steadily decrease.
Right? Who doesn't want to see the scale steadily decrease? And she said, I am less anxious. And I want you to
because
feel
I'm
just
kind of
so.
one of those where I can look like a perfect calm river on the outside, and the inside and it will eventually break loose and I become a crazy woman. So it's definitely helped with that, because if I can personally process my emotions first, then when I do need to have a difficult conversation with a family member or whatever it may be, it takes away some of the tension that maybe would be brought into it. Improved in my family relationships. It's improved the way that I even work. I mean, I've always been a pretty productive person, but maybe it's made me less stressful with the productivity, right?
Yeah.
So it takes away some of that little bit more mental clarity, that I'm not fighting against that mental battle, so to speak.
Right? Who doesn't want to be highly productive without the angst, without the stress? I used to tell myself, well, I do really well under pressure. And so I was just feeling so pressured all of the time, right? But then what I found is I could actually create some of that calm and relaxation I was telling you about, and I could get more done. I was more efficient. It's like what Jana is saying, having that mental clarity, being able to feel less anxious, less restless, less stressed. And then she said, this is the key. This exact thing is the key to what has been missing, and it has allowed my fat stores to release.
Me, Laura, was that I connected with that. You were talking to me at that, hey, I see you. I've been you. I understand, you usually can find all your answers on your own, and you can usually solve these things on your own. But like I kept telling my husband, I'm like, well, apparently I'm missing something. Mm-hmm. So it's not as simple as eat less, exercise more. That's what we're taught in medicine, right? It's not that simple. The emotional factor there is the key that unlocks the stores, the fat stores, to release them from the body.
Right? So how many of us have spent years and years telling ourselves, like, I should be able to figure this out. I should be able to figure this out. It doesn't make sense that I still struggle with this. I used to tell myself that all of the time. I would look at like my friend Wendy and be like, I knew I was outperforming her work-wise, but I'm like, it doesn't make sense that I can be so smart and struggle with my weight, right? And this is what so many of us that have this type of personality are missing. We're missing this key. We're missing all of these lessons, but we're really missing the ability to create calm and relaxation, to actually change our normal emotional state so that we can feel less anxious, less stressed, less restless. Because remember, recap of secret number 2, you feel completely in control around food when you know how to create calm and relaxation in any situation. And so now at the end of the day, when my 3 little kids go to bed and I have a snack and I am already feeling relaxed, I don't need the snack to relax. I just get to enjoy the snack already feeling relaxed. All right, so let's talk about the third secret. The third secret is that being naturally thin becomes a permanent habit when you fall in love with the ease of feeling so good and you never restrict again. So I was like, I have got this. I lost the weight after going to Australia. I was able to lose weight while I was working so many hours. I was able to lose weight after having been. I was like, I got this. I got this, except that wine thing. I was like, every time I drank more than 2 glasses of wine, right, or even like 1.5 glasses of wine, I was like kind of my tipping point where I would just start to eat all the snacks. And I was like, okay, there has to be a way. This is how I was feeling before. I wasn't really feeling that most of the time, except when I had wine. So I'm like, there must be one more thing that I'm missing. And so what I used to do is, this is me going out with some friends. I used to set up accountability partners. I'd be like, hey, I'd go out with my friends, be like, you cannot let me get the pizza tonight. You cannot let me eat. My sister and I used to go to Thanksgiving dinner, and I used to be like, do not let me have the pecan pie. Like, don't let me. I need an accountability partner. I used to not feel that way most of the time, except when I knew there was going to be alcohol involved. So then I'd be like, okay, so I'm going to have a couple glasses of wine instead of having the snacks. I'm going to have some hot tea, or I'll have some carrots ready, or I'll like go for a walk, or I'll go to bed early. Or I'd be like, okay, well, I'm just going to have a couple glasses of wine. I'm just going to work out really hard after I've been drinking. And I'd like go to the gym, and I'd be working out so hard, like just trying to work off the excess food I'd eaten. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe instead of working out so hard, I'll just cut calories for a week, or I'll eat in a 4-hour fasting window, or maybe I'll just do a juice cleanse for 3 days afterwards. Boop. Boop. Little delay. Okay, but now here are the last 3 lessons that I learned as part of this secret. So remember, the first 3 lessons I learned in secret 1 is that hunger is just a cue, food is not good or bad, and that you can rebuild trust with yourself so that you don't need counting ever again. And then in secret 2, that you can feel completely calm and in control, and you feel completely in control when you are able to create calm and relaxation in any situation. Remember, with those 3 lessons, you get to decide, how do you want to go to bed feeling? You get to decide to change your normal emotional state, because food doesn't solve any of those emotions, right? And then for me, it was like, I got all that except wine. And then what I learned in my relationship with alcohol is I learned that the scale is just a tool. I would avoid the scale anytime I drank, because I would know, like, even if I didn't overeat, I know the scale would go up the next day. But I started to just see the scale as simply a tool. I started to see it as like, oh, this is just data. I stopped feeling like I was so chained to it that it would either make or break my day. I stopped feeling like, oh, it's just like this uphill battle I need to climb. And instead, I started to see the scale as simply a tool to help me get to this side where I was still struggling in my relationship with alcohol and being at the weight I wanted, and the other side where I could drink and still be naturally thin, so that I could wake up feeling alive and vibrant and energized and have the energy that I wanted with my kids, even if I was going to drink. And so the next lesson I learned is I started to ask myself, okay, remember before I started asking myself, how do I want to feel going to bed tonight? But then I would like have a couple of drinks. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm just gonna have a couple of drinks. It's fine. I'll just like work it off for the rest of the week. But then I started asking myself this question: how do I want to feel waking up in the morning? I was like, I want to feel energized. I want to feel joyful. I want to feel excited for the day. I want to be ready for my sweet little babies, right? Even if I'm going to have a couple glasses of wine, then that means that I don't actually want to eat all the snacks, because that's how I want to wake up feeling the next day. And then I was like, oh, I can have anything I want, right? So when I asked myself, how do I want to feel waking up in the morning? I was like, okay, I want to feel alive and vibrant and energized, and I want to have a couple glasses of wine, right? And I was like, so I can eat anything I want. I never, ever, ever tell myself that there's anything I can't have. I was like, I can eat anything I want, but does it allow me to feel how I want to feel in the morning? And then what happened is I started feeling more energized, more alive, more vibrant, because I started to understand, oh, if I'm going to have a couple glasses of wine, eating all of these snacks just has me feeling even worse in the morning, right? I would wake up and I'd be like, I could tell I maybe had a glass or two, but I still wanted to have the wine, right? But I was like, I don't want to compound it by overeating the snacks and the pizza. And what happened is I started to feel so incredible in my body. I was never telling myself I can't have X, Y, and Z food. So I'm never telling myself that I can't have anything. And therefore, I didn't need to rebel when I was drinking wine. What I realized is when I was drinking wine, what was happening is it was like any lingering diet hinges were like unleashed. And then I would find myself eating things that I was telling myself I couldn't have, that I was still didn't even realize I was telling myself I couldn't have. So I was like, okay, so now I'm able to drink wine, feel incredible. I never tell myself there's anything I can't have, and therefore I don't need to rebel when I'm drinking wine. And I had this incredible experience where I was like, oh my gosh, it's habitual, it's automatic. even with wine. So this is my husband and I. We had gone to a wedding. You could see we were both having a couple drinks, and we were at this wedding all day. And I had 2 kids at this point, and we go to this wedding, and there was food out all day and all night. Like, when you go to the wedding and it's like there's appetizers and there's dinner, right? And then they bring out like the pizza bar, and then like the ice cream bar, and then there's like a snack table over there. It was like one of those kind of weddings. And they had an open bar. And so I had several glasses of wine. I probably had like, I don't know, 6 or 7 drinks. And I woke up the next day, and my husband and I were just like talking about how enjoyable the night was and like talking about all the things. And I had this epiphany. I had this moment where I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't eat any of the snacks. I didn't eat the ice cream. I didn't eat the pizza. I didn't eat the bread on the table, right? I ate my meal, but I didn't like overeat. I didn't go and like eat all of the things. And I was like, and not only did I have a glass or 2, I had like 6 or 7 glasses of wine. I was like, oh my God, I think I found it. I was like, this is it. This is permanent and it's automatic. And I know that without a shadow of a doubt because I just did it and I had 6 glasses of wine. And so this is what it means to be naturally thin for the rest of your life, to be able to go to a party. This is me on the left at my daughter's birthday party, not worried about the cupcakes we're having and the snacks we're having, being able to have alcohol if I want to. This is me at a wedding on the right, where I was able to go to a wedding, enjoy that day with my beautiful, sweet little family, not worried for a minute about food or alcohol. And here's what Jana Hassa says about it being effortless consistency.
13 pounds. I haven't done measurements like inches and things like that, but I can tell I'm like, okay, I just went through my closet clean out and I'm like, I'm done with the 10s and the 12s and I'm back into the 6s. And, so it's a good feeling that way. So I say 13 pounds that have been effortless, that have been consistent, that have felt no restriction, no deprivation, no nothing.
Right? Who doesn't want that? That is how we are designed to be in our bodies. That's how we're designed to eat and live, right? All you need is the roadmap to get there. And here's what Sue has to say. Remember, Sue lost 30 pounds in 90 days. And she said she had control. I'm supposed to say control. She had control over food for the first time in my life.
Part of my hesitation is because you kind of said, oh, you do it naturally and it feels easy or whatever. And I was just like, nah, that's not possible. And then like within the first week, I was like, what? This is easy. What? How? Huh? And like within the first week, I had control over food, which I've never in my whole life ever experienced, and let alone ever imagined that I could experience that within a week's time. That was just insane.
Right? Who doesn't want to feel completely in control around food? Right? And she was able to experience that in just a week's time. So a recap of Secret 3. Secret 3, remember, is that being naturally thin becomes a permanent habit when you fall in love. You fall in love with the ease of feeling so good and you never restrict again. So here are the 3 secrets again. Secret 1 is that your body has the roadmap to being naturally thin when you end those 3 dieting fears: the fear of hunger, the fear of food, and the fear of yourself. And secret number 2 is that you feel completely in control around food when you know how to create calm and relaxation in any situation. And secret 3 is that being naturally thin becomes a permanent habit when you fall in love with the ease of feeling so good and never restrict again. So losing weight, right, used to be, when we're dieting and exercising, hard, exhausting, and devastating. I can't tell you how many times I had told myself I'm not getting on the scale ever again. And then months and sometimes years later, I get on and I just utter devastation because I thought I was doing all the things. And I found out that I had not only not lost weight, but gained weight, right? But it doesn't have to be hard anymore. I want to teach you a way that is different, is the way that your body is meant to live for the rest of your life. And there is more time available for you up ahead. I want you to just consider this. Think about how many minutes a day you spend thinking about your body not being what you want it to be, thinking about your clothes not fitting the way, thinking about what you should be eating, thinking about how you maybe want to be exercising, thinking about whether food is good or bad. Like, I used to wake up in the morning and just from the time I got out of bed, right, I would go and I would avoid my reflection in the mirror, and then I would get in the shower and like be naked and like be judging my stomach. And then I'd walk into the closet and I'd be like, oh, is it like a stretchy pant day? Or like, can I actually wear the buttons today? Right. And then I would like go down and start to think about what I was going to eat in the morning. I'm like, oh, like probably shouldn't eat because I overate last night. Right. All of that time, if you spend even just 10 minutes a day, that's 61 hours a year, 61 hours a year. And 10 minutes a day, let's be real, it's probably 10 times that, right? It's probably not 60 hours a day. It's probably 600 hours a year, right? It's probably 100 minutes a day, because that 10 minutes a day, that doesn't even include hitting the gym and finding a new recipe and like tracking my calories. It doesn't include any of that. That's 1,800 hours. If it's just 10 minutes a day, that's 1,800 hours we're spending worried about our body, our weight, our food, what we're eating, how we're exercising. Just 10 minutes a day. It's 1,800 hours over 30 years. What could you do with 1,800 hours, right? That's so much time of our life that we spend thinking about this. So I want to ask you this question, I want you to ask yourself this when I say it, and really like ask yourself, if I just ended, right? For you, if I ended the 3 fears from dieting, if I ended my fear around hunger, food, and myself, and I reveal my body's naturally thin roadmap, because every body has a naturally thin roadmap, and you feel completely in control around food in any situation because you know how to create calm and relaxation. And I'm just so in love with feeling so good that being naturally thin is an easy habit. If that's what you did, you ended those 3 fears, revealed your body's naturally thin roadmap, felt completely in control around food, and you knew how to create calm and relaxation and felt so in love with feeling good, and being naturally thin was an easy habit, would you be successful in losing weight for the last time and never, ever worry about it again? So I want to ask you all a question. And I shared before, the way we communicate is through the Q&A at the bottom of the screen. So you can click the Q&A button and type anything. I see some of your questions and comments, and so I'm going to get to those as I go through this next part of today's class. So I want to ask you this question. How many of you want to hear that roadmap? To hear the roadmap, I took 15 years of me struggling, took 15 years of me going along the way and figuring out piece by piece by piece. How many of you want to go from struggling with the scale, feeling like you're eating out of control in the evening, feeling devastated, feeling like you're just not in the body you're meant to be in? You want to be done counting calories. You want to stop fearing hunger, forcing yourself to eat in short fasting meals. How many of you want the roadmap? How many of you want the roadmap? Put it in the Q&A. Want my roadmap to being naturally thin, because I can help you get there. And so if you want that roadmap, I'm going to teach you how I can help you get there in the fastest way possible. I'm going to teach you, and I'm going to walk you through how what I've created in the Naturally Thin for Life program. I see some yeses, tell me more in the Q&A. So if you have any comments as we're going through, any questions, put it in the Q&A. So I want to walk you through how I created and developed the Naturally Thin roadmap to take you from your diet brain to your naturally thin brain and body. And so I'm going to walk you through exactly how that works. I'm going to walk you through how the Naturally Thin method works and how it's the perfect roadmap and perfect bridge to take not only everything I've learned, but everything that naturally thin women know, and help you get there even when you've been struggling and you've been dieting for years or decades, so that you can be like Celia, who's down 40 pounds. So you can be like Sarah, who's at her naturally thin weight and she's ended the obsessing. So you can be like Tiffany, who's at a new low of 148 pounds after her 13th baby. So you can be like Jana, who's finally done, or Sue, who's down 40 pounds in 4 months, or Elizabeth, who's down 100 pounds, and Alicia, who broke up with dieting for good. And these are just a few of the women who have used the Naturally Thin method to end the diet insanity and have the freedom of being naturally thin. So I'm going to share with you now how it works. I'm going to share with you how the Naturally Thin for Life program works, and how you too can go from dieting, not being at the weight you want, overthinking, overanalyzing, to the freedom of being in a dream body and never worrying about your weight again. So the first part of the Naturally Thin for Life program is the 5-step method. So in the 5-step method, you learn to end any fear around hunger. You learn that you never need to force your body to get to be like super hungry. You end any fear around food, and you end any fear around yourself, so that weight loss gets to start day one without restriction and without deprivation, so that you have that roadmap. These 5 steps are the bridge that get you from your diet mentality, from your diet brain, from the yo-yoing to the freedom of being naturally thin, so that you can create that calm and relaxation in any situation and feel energized, to feel alive and vibrant and energized in your body every single day and actually live your life. So in the 5-step method, how it works is you learn to change your thinking, right? Remember what Einstein said, you cannot keep doing the same thing in order to get a different result, right? You cannot solve the problem from the same level of consciousness that created it. So I teach you the actual way that naturally thin women think, right? Most people don't actually know. Think about how many truly, truly naturally thin women you know in your life. I didn't know that many. So you first learn how to change your thinking. You first learn a very specific way that naturally thin women think about hunger, food, and their satisfied decisions. You learn not only how to think that way, but how to actually implement those decisions around hunger, food, and your satiation levels. You learn to feel calm and in control no matter the situation. And no matter if it's a holiday, no matter if it's Halloween, no matter if you're going to a restaurant or you're traveling. And you learn a very specific way to evaluate your progress as you're losing weight so that the scale stops making or breaking your day. And you learn tools to be able to coach yourself. You learn to be able to feel like in this 5-step method, like I'm holding your hand, like I'm with you every step along the way. I teach you the tools and a process to be able to do that so that you get to combine the mindset with the strategies that will get you there in the fastest way possible. So that it becomes permanent and automatic, no matter the season or the phase of life, so that you then get to live the rest of your life this way, right? It's how I was able to take what I teach you and fine tune it and hone it in a way that worked for me before kids. And now that is even easier and easier for me after kids. And women have gone through with autoimmune diagnoses. Women have gone through during menopause. Women have gone through during all different phases of their life because your body is designed to be naturally thin. So I want to share with you a little bit about how they're doing it and how with the tools they've learned have allowed them to have progress and create inevitable success in a fraction of the time that it took me to figure it out.
Right at 40 pounds. Just like my shift in my thinking happened so fast with like the self-coaching and all the exercises that you provide us in the program. It was just really easy for me to compound like, oh my gosh, I'm winning. And then seeing the scale number go down, quickly. Also, it just was like those wins were compounding both in like how I was feeling and then the number on the scale.
Right. And who doesn't want those quick wins to be able to get that momentum? And Mindy finally has that freedom around food that she shared a little before. And here's what else she has to say.
But it was more of the mental side of letting go of all the diet brain type of things and just having the freedom around food and not having a fear of food, like eat what feels good and move on, opposed to like, oh, I can't have that because, or, oh, I'm trying to figure out, exactly how this fits into certain numbers that somebody else gave me.
Right? Who wants to keep fitting in what they're eating to someone else's numbers that they gave? Well, no one, right? And here's what Jana has to say about finally setting herself free.
I am a trained scientist, researcher. So I'm the student. I never believe anything you tell me face value. I'm always going to see it in black and white and prove it. And I just went into it kind of as still a skeptic. And I remember talking to my sister and I'm like, I'm going to take the plunge. I'm just going to do it. I'm so frustrated. I'm so done. I'm going to do it. I'm going to invest in myself. And if I can make this small investment in myself, that will give me a lifetime of freedom, mental freedom. My ROI will be, I won't even be able to tally it because it'll be worth everything to me.
Yeah.
So if I was looking back at myself and I was looking back at Jana, a month, 2 months ago, I would say, stop trying to overanalyze and find the loopholes and find the weaknesses and the flaws and just, it's money. It's a tool. Use it to set yourself free. That's what I would tell myself. And I would do it all over again. So yeah.
That's what I want for all of you. And that's exactly what this 5-step method is designed. It's designed for you to never fear hunger, food in your body. It's designed for you to be able to trust yourself with a step-by-step guide to be able to get you to the freedom of being naturally thin so that you have the body that you want and you have the mental freedom of never, ever worrying about your weight again. And here's what Tiffany has to say about trying her whole life, and now she feels like she's finally figured it out with this 5-step method.
One of the most empowering things, like, you know, instead of giving any diet or exercise program the credit, like, it's just how I am thinking. The success so before was all of this external stuff.
Yeah.
And now I finally realized that it's me. And that's another thing that Sue said, what I just listened to today. She feels like she's like kind of angry at the world that this isn't taught in schools, like, because like this is the key. This is the key that I've been missing, and I feel like I finally found it. But I'm like, I know that this is finally it. I feel like I've been searching my whole life, trying so many different things, but I finally figured it out that it's me and my head and my brain.
So what I've done is I've taken my 15 years of experience, and I've taken the hundreds and now thousands of women that I've helped, and I've created this 5-step method to help you get from feeling like you're trying all the things, feeling like you're doing more and more research, feeling like you're getting more, like it's getting harder and harder. I used to feel like the more diets I tried, the harder it got, to take you from that place to the freedom of being in a body you love and never, ever worrying about your weight again. So who does this work for? It works for those of you who feel like you've tried everything. If you're in a high stress career, if you have a busy schedule, even if you have less than 5 pounds to lose, but you just want to stop thinking about it. If you have 100 pounds to lose, if you want to end the obsessing, if you're pregnant or postpartum, if you have an autoimmune diagnosis, if you have food sensitivities, for those of you that want to lose weight in the same way you keep it off. For those of you that just want to adore your own reflection, and you just want to be naturally thin, and you just want to be done. It's for those of you who are ready to end the diet insanity and have the freedom of being naturally thin for the rest of your life.
Me, Laura, was that I connected with that. You were talking to me at that, hey, I see you. I've been you. I understand, you usually can find all your answers on your own, and you can usually solve these things on your own. But like I kept telling my husband, I'm like, well, apparently I'm missing something. Mm-hmm. So it's not as simple as eat less, exercise more. That's what we're taught in medicine, right? It's not that simple. The emotional factor there is the key that unlocks the stores, the fat stores, to release them from the body.
And I shared that clip with you before, but I want to share it again because I know so many of you are like me and are like Jana and are like all of the women that just like tell ourselves like, we've done the research, we understand all of the information, but like, what are we missing? And what you are missing is what I shared with you today. And it's what I built out for you in the 5-step Naturally Thin roadmap. So what you get in Naturally Thin for Life is the 5-step method, where I take you from your diet brain to the freedom of being naturally thin. And now I don't charge you $6,000, but I was just kind of thinking back, like, how much would I have paid when I was struggling? I remember being on a trip in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and I'm not like a football person, but I got tickets for my husband. And for whatever reason, someone had a scale there, and I hadn't been getting on the scale, and I got on the scale. And I remember just like, it hit me, and I was just like crying on the bed. Like, I was feeling so devastated. I was like, what? I've been trying so hard. I thought I've been doing all the right things. And like, the scale's gone up like again. And like, I was like, what would I have paid to have a roadmap, a proven method to get me to the body of my dreams and the freedom of never worrying about my weight again? $6,000, I probably would have paid $600,000. I would have paid anything. I was just like, I just want to be done. I want to be done. This is too exhausting, too devastating. And I was driving myself crazy. And so in the Naturally Thin for Life program, you get this 5-step method. You get a 5-step method to take you from dieting to having the freedom, not only mentally, but having the body of being naturally thin. And so not only do I teach you a 5-step method, so when you join the program, you get access to a personalized member dashboard where you go in and you learn the 5 steps, right? But I know that a lot of you are like me, where I love to learn. I love to learn. I can geek out on learning. Right? So I created a guidebook for you. I created a guidebook. It's like me sitting there with you, holding your hand, taking you through every step along the way, so that you are consistently implementing with customized learning. You're making consistent progress by implementing all of the teachings that I give you in the 5-step method by using the guidebook, right? Your guidebook is like your implementation guide, and you customize it. You customize that learning to you, your lifestyle, and your body, right? So that you can go for me, like super nerd, super geek, to trying to like, understand all the information because I love learning, to actually implementing what you're learning so that you get to follow and stay on the proven roadmap, to stay on the 5-step methods so that you make your success inevitable. And it only takes 90 days. It takes 90 days. You heard from Sue, right? She lost 30 pounds in 90 days. Celia lost 20 pounds in 12 weeks, right? Sue was like, I felt like I had control in 1 week. So you get to start experiencing all of those benefits day one, so that there's no more falling off track, staying on track, but there's just consistent implementation and customized learning so that you get to feel alive and vibrant and energized in your body.
The workbook is amazing, by the way.
Yeah, so time and time again, I have so many women in the Naturally Thin for Life program that are just like me and Jana and Celia and Sarah that are like, I love to learn all the things, right? And the workbook helps you implement everything you learn so that you stay focused and on track and you make your success inevitable. Because with that success roadmap, you get to customize it to your lifestyle, to your schedule, to your body, so that you feel completely in control, so that you stop obsessing and worrying and doubting, and so that you truly lose the weight for the last time, so that you'll be able to be like Sue, Sarah, Elizabeth, Jana, Tiffany, and Celia, and so many more. And when you do this, you'll be able to get rid of so many things, right? I was telling you about my $1,000 of juicers, right? Think about all the things you won't have to do again, ever again. Have a second set of clothes, right? Jana was saying she finally cleared out her closet because now she's just back in her size 6, where she knows her naturally thin weight is, right? You'll be able to get rid of meal plans and prep programs, gym or studio memberships you hate, personal trainers that you might not even enjoy, subscriptions, tracking apps. I used to have a Apple Watch just to track my calories. I didn't want it for any of the other stuff. I just wanted it to track, right? You'll be able to get rid of anything that you're using to try to lose weight, right? You'll be able to prevent potentially medical bills. There have been women that have gotten rid of, with the care of their physician, there have been women that don't need to take certain medication anymore, right? You'll be able to get rid of the guilt and the frustration and the hopelessness. You'll be able to get rid of that harsh critic that looks in the mirror or looks at pictures of yourself. And no more, no more missing out, living on a life with this freedom. I have a primary goal for my life, and it is to live a life with no regrets. I do not want to die having regretted anything in my life. And when you struggle, when I was struggling, I was not living that life. And so that is what I want for all of you. I want you to have that freedom, and it takes 90 days or less, just 90 days. And it takes less time than what you're doing right now. I guarantee it. And so with the workbook, we ship it anywhere in the world. So not only do you get an electronic version, as soon as you join the program, you get access to your member dashboard where we have all of the 5 steps. They're on demand, so you can go through them at your own pace. And you can also use the guidebook that walks you through exactly how to go through them, how to implement everything you learn so that you are staying focused and on track. And we ship you a hard copy of that guidebook anywhere in the world so that you have a hard copy with you, but you also get an electronic version if you're traveling. And never, ever, hopefully you've learned this about me by now, never, ever are you going to track, count, or follow any strict diet rules. And so what you get in the Naturally Thin for Life program is you get the 5-step method. You get the proven roadmap to take you from dieting, worrying about your weight, to your dream body and the freedom of being naturally thin. And you get the guidebook. So not only do you get the information, but you get the tool to implement that information consistently so that you can have the experience of being in a body you love, you enjoy, never worrying about your weight again, right? So again, I was like, how much? When I was struggling, right? I was just thinking, for me, how much would I have paid to not only know how to get there, right? I couldn't find the information. I was like, how do you get, I see these naturally thin women, right? But they haven't struggled. So they're missing this piece in between. I was like, how do I get from here to there, right? And that's the 5-step method. And then the guidebook is how you implement it. I was like, how much would I have paid? I for sure would have paid $12,000. I would have paid like anything. I probably would have paid like $50,000 or $100,000. Like if someone would just tell me, I was just like, how do you do it? I just need someone to tell me how you do it. How do you get from there to there, right? And how do you implement it consistently to have the permanent habit of it? And so what else do you need? The other thing that you need that has catapulted these women's success is unlimited customized support from me. So this is me on a coaching call inside the Naturally Thin for Life program. And I'm going to share with you a little bit about how this works. But I asked Celia, I said, what was for you was the biggest game changer in your progress, in your journey, in your momentum that happened so quickly? And she said this.
Be getting life coached, as well as being able to come on get my questions answered, get that live coaching, also hear other people getting coached, because often the people that are getting coached are dealing with some of the same things that I am.
Right. And so she said being able to get that support from you. And so in the Naturally Thin for Life program, not only do you get the 5-step method, you get the guidebook, but you get unlimited personalized live support from me. And so we have live calls every week where you can come on, ask any questions, you can hear anything that anyone else is struggling with. We also have written coaching. So if you don't want to come live or you can't come live, you can also ask me any questions on a 24/7 Q&A board. So when you join the program, you get access to a member portal that's personalized and customized to you. You get your 5-step process, you get your workbook. We're going to ship it to you, and you're going to get that in the mail in a couple of days, and you get the electronic version so you can get started right away. And then you get a limited personalized live support with me. So you can come to live calls. You can come to a live call. You can ask me any questions, ask for any coaching. You can also write any coaching to me on a 24/7 Q&A board in your member portal. So it's all right there in one spot for you. And you can also email me any coaching. And then you can also go through any of the call replays. They're all listed by topic. So if you go through, we actually just did one this last week on dinner time and how do naturally thin women, how are they at dinner time when like dinner times change or when you have kids and like all these situations that were coming up. So if you're like, oh, that's something that I want to help with, you can also see any of the call replays by topic. They're on demand. So anytime you want, you can get unlimited personalized live support with me. And you also get to see that you're not alone in this. You get to see that there's other women that have very similar struggles as you. And it's so important to see that you're not doing it alone. This is me with my son. I just feel like so frustrated. Like, am I the only one that struggles with this? I used to think like maybe there's just like something wrong with me. Other people don't seem to struggle with this as much as I do. But when you get to see, oh, we all are struggling in a very similar way. And oh, look at it. We're all implementing the solution and we're all winning together. We're all becoming naturally thin as part of this group that's doing this without dieting and without extreme exercising, so that we just get to live our lives. Like I just get to live my life with my sweet little babies, helping all of you, never ever worrying about our weight again. And here's Sean. Sean was someone that came to me who was pregnant at the time, and you're going to hear a little bit about her story. And she was like, I don't have the motivation. She had been training for triathlons before she was pregnant. And she was like, I don't have the motivation to keep up the like crazy strict diets and the exercise. And so Naturally Thin is a program for real women in real life, so that you stop starting and stopping, so that you stop starting and stopping, and you instead have that proven roadmap. You get the 5-step method with the implementation guidebook and personalized, customized support from me to guarantee your inevitable success in being naturally thin.
I think finding freedom in food, it's like, I can eat whatever I want. I had mini corn dogs with my son for dinner. Like, I posted that on MyFitnessPal, the community would have freaked out, right? These people trying to lose weight, they're like, how are you eating mini corn dogs and still losing weight? I was like, I don't eat them every day, like, and I don't have like 45 of them.
Yes.
And I actually they're not a food that really serves me, but I didn't want to go to the grocery store and that's what was on hand. So that's what we had. But I think the freedom is just like, wow, I can actually live my life. I feel like I can breathe.
That's what I want for all of you. This is a real solution for women that live in real life, right? Not just for special women, right? It's for like Sean. She was able to lose 65 pounds with her 9-month-old, and she had an 18-month-old, and she changed jobs because she was able to live her life, because being naturally thin is how you're designed to eat and live. So with the support from me, you get support available anytime you need it. You either get to write it in or you get to come to a live call any way you want, so that you're always making the progress that you need for your life and your lifestyle. So here's again what you get. So you get the 5-step method, you get the guidebook for consistent implementation, you get unlimited live support. And again, I was like, how much would I have paid to not only have someone tell me exactly the roadmap to get me from my dieting, not being at the weight I wanted, to not only the body I wanted, but the freedom of being naturally thin? How much would I pay for that? And then a guidebook to have consistent implementation, to not only learn it, but to consistently apply it so that it becomes a permanent habit. And then to have someone to ask any question anytime I want. For sure would have paid $18,000 for that. And so what else do you get? You also get an entire bonus archive. So I have a bonus archive inside your dashboard. And so this is a screenshot of your dashboard. So you go in, and one of the things you get is a bonus archive where I have multiple mini courses inside your bonus archive. And so if there's something that you want to personalize and customize to do for you, you can do that. So for example, I shared how I lost 20 pounds in 90 days after my third baby. So other women have gone through that, right? Using this exact process. I share with you how to change your relationship with hunger, right? It's included in the 5 steps, but some people want to go deeper in that. I share with you how to debunk the 10 most common diet myths so that you never have them slow down your weight loss. I share with you how to have confidence from someone that had a lot of social anxiety, how to have naturally thin confidence. So that bonus archive is for you to make it even more customized and personalized to you if there's any area of the 5-step process you want to dive deeper into. Because it's real women in real life. And no more, we're not doing any more of the hard way, which is what we've been taught by dieting, right? We went through this, but I shared this with you before, but I want to share it again and reiterate, there is no counting points, counting macros, counting calories, no extreme exercise programs or training, no more thinking you need self-control, more accountability, or more discipline. No getting personal trainers or tracking apps or needing like a buddy to hold you accountable. There's no restriction. There's no deprivation. There's no more willpower. There's no more short eating windows. There's no more made-for-you meals that you need. No more thinking it's normal to maintain 2 sets of clothes, and no more colonics and juicers and marathons, right? If you don't even want to do any of those things, right? Because we all spend an insane amount of money trying to lose weight with this and that and this and that throughout our lives, right? And how much time do we spend? We spend years and decades, and we miss the enjoyment of the day-to-day, right? We miss just being in a body we love, and never, ever, ever, not even 10 minutes a day. That's 1,800 hours over 30 years, not spending even 10 minutes a day worrying about our weight or our body. No more of that. And the motivation when you lose weight this way, it piles on, and it starts day one, because the motivation and the momentum piles on the more you serve your body. Here's what Sean has to say.
When you start through the weight loss industry, through a Jenny Craig, through a Weight Watchers, or any of those other kind of people, the motivation just, it's like it tapers off because of the restriction. So you lose your will and your desire to do it because your body's not happy. You're not happy. Why do it? Why continue something when you're not happy doing it? And finding this method, the motivation just piles on the more that you serve your body.
Right. And isn't that what we all want? So many of us are used to just having a lot of motivation, and then it fades so quickly, right? Rather than actually seeing the motivation increase. I want you to imagine losing weight in a way that the motivation increases simply because you're shocked with the ease at which your body is able to lose weight. And so, like I said before, you get the entire bonus archive so that you get to make your naturally thin journey more customized and personalized to you as you see fit. So here's a recap of what you get. You get the 5-step method. You get the guidebook for consistent implementation. You get unlimited live support from me. You get the entire bonus archive. And again, I was like, okay, how much would I have paid not only for a method to show me exactly how to get from this diet, obsessing, wanting to be at a smaller weight, neuroses, to the freedom of being naturally thin? Even after 3 kids, I would have paid way more than $24,000 for that. And not only the method, but you get a guidebook to consistently apply. You get unlimited live support from me, who's helped hundreds and thousands of women lose weight in this way. And you get an entire bonus archive to go deeper into other areas that you want to make more personalized and customized to you. So there's one more thing. There's one more thing I want to share with you that I see this so often. I've seen it time and time again. And I noticed it as a pattern as I was helping all of these women, that we are so ambitious. We're so driven. We know we're meant to do extraordinary things. And then we're finally done with the weight struggle, right? And we just want to enjoy our lives. We want to live our lives loving what we're doing. But then so many of us, what we do is we end the weight struggle, and then we want to go out and we want to pursue other dreams, or we want to simply enjoy the life that we have created without pressure. So in the Naturally Thin for Life program, not only do you learn how to lose weight and have the freedom of being naturally thin, once you've accomplished that, I also have an entire other program inside when you join today called the Joyfully Thin Experience. So the Joyfully Thin Experience is an entire program after you've lost the weight that you can use to pursue any goal and make any goal a reality for yourself without using the pressure, without using that frantic angst energy that so many of us are used to. Or you can simply use this process It has 3 pillars: desiring, unbinding yourself from pressure, and expanding into feeling just more joy and love and gratitude in your life. So you can use this process to either set and accomplish a blow your mind goal in 6 months. It's designed for you to go through 6 months. Or you can use it to simply enjoy the life you've already created. So not only do you get to lose weight and keep it off in the same way you've lost it and have the freedom of being naturally thin, but then you get to go on and live with the joyfully thin experience, setting and achieving goals without pressure for the rest of your life. Because you then not only get to be at the weight you want, but live joyfully forever.
Investment in the program is so far beyond the weight loss that I almost look at it now as that's the added benefit.
Yeah.
It's not even the main dish. It's the other tools that I have been able to learn and be equipped with are so much better than I anticipated. So to any woman who is skeptical, who is just listening long enough to look for the weak link, or there's a catch, there's not. I promise you, if it was going to be found, I would have found it.
Yeah.
Or, there's just not. And the benefit is so much more than the weight loss. So yes, we want to be healthy. Yes, I want to feel comfortable, confident. I want my body to be healthy. And the tools I was using were not accomplishing that. So yes, I jumped in because of weight, but I've learned so much more.
And that's what I want for all of you. You can come in and you can lose the weight, and that may be where you end. Or if you want to go on and you want to set and achieve goals, you're meant for extraordinary things, but you're just not seeing that reality in your life. You can use this joyfully thin experience process to make those dreams a reality for yourself, so that you get to live the rest of your life with more joy and just love your experience of your own life.
I also think time, all this crap has taken up a lot of time in my life, and I can make more money. I randomly got a bonus at work yesterday, that was more than the cost of this program. So I'm okay, there we go.
Yes.
If it's taking up a lot of your time, it's not going to anymore. It's going to be so much better.
That's what I want for all of you. I want you to see that it can be so much better, and it will be so much better. And like I said before, living a life with no regrets is just a personal goal of mine, and to help anyone that wants that reality for themselves too. And time is the one thing we can never get back. Time is the one thing I can never get back. And so I want to enjoy the time I have. I don't want to be spending it thinking and worrying about my weight and my exercise and what I should eat and what I shouldn't eat. And do I need to be eating in a 2-hour window? I don't want to waste my life. I don't want to waste one single minute of my life thinking about any of that. And that's what I want for all of you. So the freedom of being naturally thin is about being in a body that you love, that feels good, but it's also about the mental freedom of never, ever worrying about your weight again. So here's a quick recap of everything you get. So in the Naturally Thin for Life program, you get the 5-step method that walks you through, that bridges the gap between dieting and exercising to being naturally thin in a step-by-step structured process. And you get the guidebook for consistent implementation, where there are no strict rules, where there's no deprivation, there's no restriction, there's no counting, so that you make consistent progress. So you can be like Sue and lose 30 pounds in 90 days. You get unlimited live support from me. So you can ask me any questions in the form of live calls. You can watch any call replays, you can email me, and you can use our 24/7 Q&A written coaching board. You get access to the entire bonus archive. So if there's any topic you want to dive deeper into, you can customize your journey and your process by using that bonus archive. And you get the full Joyfully Thin experience. Other women have paid $10,000 to be a part of the Joyfully Thin experience, and I'm giving that to you when you join Naturally Thin for Life today. So the total value of all of that is $34,000. And I was like, if someone would tell me and show me how to be naturally thin and have the freedom of being in a body that I love, be able to lose weight easily after having kids, never worry about my weight again, and then also show me how to set and achieve other goals in my life so that I can feel like I'm living up to my fullest, greatest potential, without a shadow of a doubt, I would have paid $34,000, right? So that's of course not what I'm going to charge you, but I want you to ask yourself this question. If all I did was this, if all I did was finally get you to your goal weight, would it be worth it, right? Would it be worth $34,000 to you if all I did was get you to your goal weight? Would it be worth it to you if all I did was show you how to create trust with yourself around food in any situation. If you go to a holiday party and never worry about your weight, always feel like you are enjoying and never missing out and always being at your naturally thin weight. If that's all I did, would it be worth it to you? Would it be worth $34,000 to you? If all I did was show you how to be an example for your kids and your loved ones, would it be worth it to you? Would it be worth $34,000 to you? And if all I did was give you the freedom and the confidence to pursue other dreams, or simply enjoy the life you've built, to enjoy every single moment of every day to its fullest potential, would it be worth it to you? Would it be worth $34,000 to you? It would have 1,000% for me. So when I was creating Naturally Thin for Life, I was like, okay, I have two choices. The first option is I can either make it super cheap and try to get as many people in as possible and not have the time and dedication to devote all of the resources to guarantee your success, or I can make it a little bit of a higher investment for you, but I get to give you more personalized and customized support to be able to build a community of women who are all in this and devoted together. And I get to deploy more resources to guarantee your success. And I'm a best girl. I always want the best, so I created the best. So what is being naturally thin for life worth to you? I want you to really ask yourself this question. What is it worth to you to lose the weight for the last time? Is it worth $5,000? Is it worth $10,000? Is it worth more than that? Is it worth my $34,000? Is it worth $100,000? I for sure would have paid $100,000 back then to be able to have this exact relationship with my body and food that I have now. How much would you pay to be naturally thin for life? I want you to really ask yourself that question, because what I see so often too is those of us that are successful, we somehow think we shouldn't be struggling with this and that we should have found the answer. And so therefore we shouldn't need to find a solution, right? But I want to offer to you, I want you to see that there is a way, and I have a way for you to get there in just 90 days. And I want you to also ask yourself, what does this struggle really cost you? What is starting and stopping and falling off track and getting back on track, right? And my intuitive eating and like doing cookie dough and eating 3 times a day, right? And overeating at night and like trying to work it off the next day and feeling chained to the scale. What does that really cost you, right? And what it costs you is living your life to the fullest potential, living your life as the highest version of yourself who never worries about her weight, who's in a body that feels alive and vibrant and energized all the time, so that you actually get to have more time, right? When you have that roadmap to get you from your struggle to dieting and over exercising to having the freedom of being naturally thin. So you get to wake up every day with more joy, feeling more alive, more vibrant, more energized. And I want you to see what's available to you on the other side, right? Like Sarah and Aaron and Sue and Jana, and there's me enjoying my life, just enjoying my life because I don't struggle with this. And so you can see why women pay tens of thousands of dollars to be thin. I actually read this in a book. It was completely unrelated to losing weight, where he was talking about women will pay $25,000 for liposuction. I was like, what? And I had to Google it to verify it. I'm like, what? People pay that much for liposuction and it's probably going to come back, right? But we can see, we want to feel that way in our body. So we can see why women pay tens of thousands of dollars to be thin. But now today, I'm offering all of this to you. I'm offering you the full Naturally Thin for Life and Joyfully Thin experience for just $3,000, so that you get to live the rest of your life with a naturally thin body and brain, and it only takes 90 days. So for those of you who are like, I'm ready, I'm all in, let's do it, here's the link to get started right now. So you go to lauradixoncoaching.com/go1110, right? So that's today's date, go 1110. And as soon as you join, what's going to happen is you'll enter your payment information, and then we will ship a hard copy of your guidebook to you. You'll get it in about 2 to 3 days if you live in the US. And if you live outside the US, it might take a couple of extra days, but we do ship it anywhere in the world. And you get access right now. You can get started right now going through the 5-step process using the electronic version of the guidebook until your hard copy gets there. And you get to come to the next live call that we have. You get access to the bonus archive. You get to just go through the Joyfully Thin experience. You get access to it all right now, so that you don't have to spend one more day, not one more day, struggling with this, so you get to live the rest of your life with a naturally thin body and brain, and it only takes 90 days. So again, you get the 5-step method, the guidebook, the unlimited live support, the bonus archive, and the Joyfully Thin experience. And it's just $3,000. And remember, the Joyfully Thin experience I have sold to other women for $10,000. It's a $10,000 program that I'm giving to you today, included in your $3,000 payment. I'm giving it to you today when you join. So let's do this. Let's be naturally thin. Let's show other people how to be naturally thin. Let's have this freedom for those of us that want this, so that we can go and just live our lives and enjoy our lives and never, ever spend and waste another minute struggling again. So you can get started right now. Go to lauradixoncoaching.com/go1110. Okay. And I said, it only takes 90 days. So the program is designed for you to be done in 90 days. The workbook is designed for you to be done in 90 days. And when you do, you go to lauradixoncoaching.com/go1110. And like I said before, you enter your payment information, and then you'll get an email with your personalized, customized dashboard. And then everything you need is right there in that one dashboard: the 5-step method, the workbook. You'll get a hard copy of the workbook, the bonus archive, how to join the live calls, the Joyfully Thin experience. It's all there right in your member dashboard. And it only takes you 90 days. And you don't need to spend a lot of time and energy and effort. Even though it only takes 90 days, I also am giving you lifetime access to all of it, because I want you to be able to have access to all of these tools for life. So you get access for life to the 5-step process. You get lifetime access to the guidebook, lifetime access to the live support with me. So you get to come to calls forever if you want, right? It only takes 90 days, but you get lifetime access to all of it. Lifetime access to the bonus archive and lifetime access to the Joyfully Thin experience, because my mission in this life is to help all women who want it to be able to live in a body that's naturally thin with the mental freedom that comes with it. So if you're ready to get started right now, let's do this. Don't spend another minute, another day in this struggle. And you get to experience that starting day one. So how you join is you go to lauradixoncoaching.com/go1110. And now, like I said before, I had 2 choices when I was creating this program, and now you have 2 choices. So the first option is you can keep trying it the hard way, right? Jana was telling her husband, like, I feel like I should know how to do this, but I apparently there's something I'm missing. Or you can decide that it's time for a change. It's time to dive in. It's time to get started. And it's time to end the insanity once and for all, because we don't get our time back. I want you to not spend one more minute, one more day struggling with this. And here's my guarantee to you. If you don't lose the weight for the last time, I will give you your money back. So are you ready to do this together? Go to lauradixoncoaching.com/go1110. You get to see how easy it is for you, how you can have that complete sense of control like Sue, how you never have to have any of those dieting fears, and you can be in a weight and a body you love with the mental freedom that comes along with it, so that you get to live and actually live your life, never ever worrying about your weight again. And you get to be done in 90 days, right? Or I give you your money back, and I give you your money back, but I give you a full year. It's not just the 90 days that it takes for you to go through the program, but I give you a full year to use that guarantee. So I give you a year to complete the program and lose the weight for the last time with the Naturally Thin method, or I give you your money back. So for you who's ready to get started right now, you are like, I'm done. I don't want to wait another day. Go to lauradixoncoaching.com/go1110. You're going to get immediate on-demand access to the entire 5-step process, the guidebook, the bonus archive. You're going to see how to join our upcoming live calls. You can start getting support from me right away. You can start you could join right now and start asking me questions on our Q&A dashboard, and I will answer those for you. And you get the Joyfully Thin experience today when you join. So the real question is this: is it worth it to feel 10 times calmer, completely in control, and see the scale drop as soon as you implement the first step of the program? Would that be worth it to you? It would have been worth it to me. I would have done anything for someone to show me exactly what's in this program, for someone to show me the roadmap and how to consistently apply it and how to make it personalized and customized to me and get support anytime I needed, and then to go on and pursue other goals without needing pressure all the time. That for sure would have been worth it to me. And so if it's worth it to you, get started right now. You can go to lauradixoncoaching.com/go1110. And here's everything you get. I'm going to give you one last recap. You get the 5-step process. You get the 5-step process to change your thinking, to be able to make hunger, food, and satiation decisions, just like naturally thin women do, to be able to change your normal emotional state, to be able to feel calm and relaxed in any situation, to be able to evaluate your progress very objectively with the naturally thin mindset. And I teach you a process to coach yourself. And so that you have an inevitable 5-step process to get you from dieting overthinking, overanalyzing, not being at the weight you want, to the body and the brain that come with the freedom of being naturally thin. You get that in the 5-step process. You get the Naturally Thin for Life guidebook so that you make consistent progress. You're consistently implementing, and you get unlimited live support from me, because there will be times that it's not going to be perfect along the way. And that's the extraordinary part of it. It doesn't need to be perfect. So anytime you have a question, anytime you have a holiday coming up or a social situation, or there's something happening on your day-to-day that you want help with, you get unlimited live support from me. You get access to the entire bonus archive, and you get the full Joyfully Thin experience. And all of that is worth way more than $34,000. That is just how much I was thinking about, like, how much would I have paid? I for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, would have paid $34,000 for all of that. So why wait? Why spend one more day struggling with this? Why spend one more day spending and wasting any of your mental energy and your physical energy being in a body that doesn't feel good, consuming your mental energy, worried and overthinking and overanalyzing about your weight? There is no good reason to wait. I want to help you have the freedom of being naturally thin for the rest of your life. And if you don't lose the weight, I give you your money back. So you get started now. Go to lauradixoncoaching.com/go1110 to get started. And here's the last thing I'm going to share with you from Sean. So Sean lost 65 pounds with a 9-month-old, a 2-year-old, and she switched careers during all of this. And she has so much more time and energy.
Because for me, when I started, I was pretty much over it. I was over trying to be healthy. I was over the holistic. I was over the organic and the keto and the paleo and the vegan and I was so done. But then when I was pregnant again at 213 pounds, I was like, I became afraid for myself because I did not want to be 250 pounds. I did not want to be heavier than that. And I was like, I'm going to look for a nutritionist, but here's the deal. I'm not motivated. They can't tell me what to eat and they can't tell me how much to work out because I don't want to do any of it.
I love it.
That's where I was at.
So if Sean can do it, pregnant, not having any motivation, any energy, not wanting to work out or have something to tell them what to eat, you can do it too. You will have so much more time and so much more energy on the other side. And here's Sue, 40 pounds down in 4 months, and she also has more time and more energy. It's an inevitable byproduct of losing weight this way.
Oh, absolutely. I know, it's insane. Like, I was definitely one of the, I don't have time. And yeah, sure, I don't have all the time in the world. No one does, but I definitely am able to manage so much more of it now and do a lot more of the things I enjoy. I was able to start drawing again every once in a while and dancing more. And, you definitely all of a sudden find this time that you didn't know you had because your brain was just taking that time somewhere else for some reason. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. You just it's bizarre because you're like, but I have the same 24 hours I always had. How am I fitting so much more into this? And the energy, I have so much energy. So the things that took me forever to do are like, oh, boom, done, I'm just so fast,
Yeah. And so often we think only because we've dieted that it takes time and energy to lose weight, but not when you lose weight with the Naturally Thin method. So in these 90 days, you're actually going to have more time and you're going to have more energy. It's like what Jana was talking about earlier. You just have so much more mental clarity. You feel so much better. It doesn't actually take time and energy. It releases time and energy for you to enjoy your life. So if you're ready to get started, go to lauradixoncoaching.com/go1110. And you have 2 options when you go there. So you'll see these 2 payment options. So you can either make one payment of $3,000, or there's also a payment option of 4 payments of $800. And if you want to get started right now, you can get started today for just $800. You can sign up for the payment option. You can do 4 payments of $800. You could start having the freedom of being naturally thin right now, day 1. So go to lauradixoncoaching.com/go1110, select your payment option. And as soon as you join, you will get an email that's going to send you your login information. You get on-demand lifetime access to the full dashboard, the workbook, the unlimited live support with me, the bonus archive, and you get access to the Joyfully Thin experience. And you get all of that for life. And you either lose the weight for the last time, or I give you your money back, because my mission and my purpose in this life is to help any woman that wants to be naturally thin to not only have a naturally thin body, but also to have the freedom that comes with the naturally thin mindset. And that's what I want for all of you. So I'm going to answer a couple of questions and then we will be done for today. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the Q&A. I see some questions for earlier, and I saw a couple of questions kind of pop up as I was going through of trusting yourself. And so here's what sometimes what I hear is people will say, oh, like, I don't know if I can trust myself to follow through. And what I want to tell you is that is not a reason to not do it. That is a reason to do it. Remember, when we're dieting, we subconsciously stop learning to trust ourselves. And so then it's no wonder that you've done a bunch of diets. You probably failed along the way, right? Doing some of those diets for a little bit, but then not being able to carry them out because they're not designed for you to live that way forever, right? And so then sometimes we tell ourselves like, oh, I just don't know if I can follow through, right? But I've created an inevitable roadmap for you not only to follow through, but for you to implement so that you have the freedom of being naturally thin. And part of that journey is you then get to see that you can actually trust yourself. You can actually follow through on anything you want. And when you do this with your weight, you will open up the possibilities for your life. And that's why I created the Joyfully Thin experience, because when you solve this struggle that has been a struggle for you and you see what you are capable of when you're losing weight, the naturally thin way, you can't help but want to live with the Joyfully Thin experience for the rest of your life. So we are at the top of the hour. I will leave you here, and I cannot wait to see all of you in the Naturally Thin for Life program. And remember, you just go to lauradixoncoaching.com/1110, pick your payment option, and you're going to get immediate on-demand access. And friends, now is the time. Now is also the time because there's holidays coming up, there's social situations. And when we are in the Naturally Thin for Life program, we actually started this, we're starting this in a couple of weeks. I'm going to teach you how to go through the holiday season, never missing out and actually losing weight at the same time by using exactly what I teach you here. So friends, now is the time. Do not wait. Do not wait for New Year's. You can actually go through the holidays, lose weight, and you can have that sense of control and calm and relaxation starting day one and see the scale drop and see that momentum build right now. So don't waste another day. Head over to lauradixoncoaching.com/go1110, select your payment option, join, get started right now, and I will see you inside. All right, friends, I will talk to you all later.